Hey everybody, my name's Rob and welcome to the Cosplay Database. Now, my few plans for this channel include mainly DIY projects. Now this means I'm going to be making my own costumes, making my own props, or even modifying store-bought or pre-made toys like a sonic screwdriver or a Nerf gun or stuff like that. Now today's going to be a bit different than the whole creating something aspect. It's actually going to start with the story. And that story is the story of the Arrow TV show and how I started watching it. I loved the show, and so I wanted to create a costume based on the look he had in seasons 1 through 3. Now, I have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to examine the show and look at the different pieces that were used to try and most accurately build something that would look as accurate as I could get it without spending, a whole lot of money. And so this means I haven't been able to go and just go online to a site like procosplay.com and buy a full-fledged, officially made costume, which I plan to do sometime in the future, but as of right now I do not have the money for that. What I do have the money for is Amazon and thrift stores and other places where you can get good materials that will suit your purposes, but for a really low price. So basically what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through the history of me watching the Arrow TV show and about when I decided to make my own costume and how I went about doing that. So Arrow premiered in 2012, but I didn't see it then. I actually didn't see it till, about 2015, around February 2015. I was at a D-Now and my host home had Netflix on. And so after watching a couple reruns of different shows that I didn't really care for, everybody else went to sleep. And so me being the only one awake decided, hey, I'm going to watch something that I want to watch. And so I was browsing and I stumbled across this show called Arrow. I had no idea what it was, but it looked intriguing and said it was based off a DC superhero, which I'm like, hey, let's go with that. So I started watching it and I was pretty interested. I mean, obviously I started out with a pilot episode and this is 2015, so 2012, this is in the middle of the third season right now. So I started off with season 1 and I like it, but I didn't quite get what was going on. Well, that was probably due to the fact that I kept falling asleep, and as it was midnight. Regardless, I tried to watch it, and I dutifully stayed awake till I'm pretty sure about the beginning of the second episode, before I fell asleep, woke up midway through what I think was the fourth episode. And so I said, you know what, this is pointless, I am falling asleep, I'm too tired for this. So I turned it off. That about ended me watching the TV show Arrow for maybe about 6 months. That summer, I should say, I was a bit bored, and then I remember that TV show. I'm like, hey, I want to give this another try. So I bought season 1 of The Arrow, and I started watching it, and I really, really liked it. So I watched season 1, I watched season 2, and I watched season 3, and by summer of 2016, which is when I finished season 3, I had fallen in love with the show and the character, and I really loved the way they portrayed Green Arrow. So I really wanted to, I really wanted to make that costume, really wanted to have that costume. About this time I started watching season 4, and the whole new costume change happened. Now, I like the costume they had in season 4, and then season 5, 6, and then now 7, but it never really, I don't know how to describe it. I never really liked it as much as I did the costume from season 1 to 3, albeit with the minor changes. And so, watching season 4, I was a bit disappointed they went away with that costume. Now, me being one of those people who likes that season 1 through 3 look, I really enjoyed that episode in season 6 where he busted out the suit again, but that's a story for another day. So it was mid-2016 when I started making this costume. So the first thing I did is I went on eBay and bought myself a hood. Now this hood was a replica of the one used on the show, and it looked great. I got it in the mail and I wore it for the next 5 hours or so. I was so happy with it. I loved it. After that, I went everywhere I could. I went to Walmart, I went to Target, I went to thrift stores everywhere trying to find a green jacket. Now, I eventually found one that was what I thought was the right shade of green and fit me well enough. The only problem is the zipper only went down to like here-ish, so it was just a top zipper. It wasn't a full-length zipper like I needed. At the time, I debated over that. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, and so I ended up just buying it and thinking, okay, I think I can get away with it for now. It won't matter as much. And so I did that. I got the jacket, and then I got the hood, and I put the hood on while wearing the jacket, and it looked great. The hood didn't match the jacket as well as I was hoping, but it was good enough, I thought. The only problem was the hood didn't want to stay put here. It just wanted to flap up and didn't want to stay down. And so I asked my mom, and she really kindly sewed some Velcro on either side of the zipper for me that I could Velcro the hood down, and it worked like a charm. Next thing to do was to make the quiver. And since the quiver is handmade on the show, I couldn't just outright buy the quiver that was used. The materials to make the quiver, I couldn't really afford them at the time. And so, like every DIYer on a budget, I turned to duct tape. Now, I made this quiver out of duct tape using a gray layer, and once I got it the size and shape I wanted, I covered it in black duct tape. Now, next was the strap, and once again, those straps are handmade for the show. And so, since I couldn't buy them, I had to turn to making it in my own budget-formed way. So I had 2 cloth belts that I don't remember where I got them from. But once again, I asked my mom, and she sewed them together for me. And it works. It makes the Y strap that I need. I hooked that to my quiver, and I put it on my back, and it felt great. It obviously wasn't an exact replica, but I was just trying to go for something that looked very similar that I could make on a budget. And so I called that done. This is what I had so far. The jacket and the hood don't really match that well. The quiver strap didn't sit right. And what's on my face, if you can see that right underneath the hood, is a poor attempt at making a mask out of craft foam that I later discarded because it was pointless. It did nothing really, and I did not like the way it turned out. So I'm going to be sticking with the no mask look, possibly using some grease paint. And then for the next month or so, I didn't really do anything because I wasn't quite sure where to go next. Amazon, Walmart, I couldn't find the green pants I was looking for. Eventually, with a last-ditch effort, I went to Burlington, and I found some green pants that would work there. In the white light of the store, the jacket and the pants seemed to match to my untrained eye, but when I got home, my mom confirmed no, they didn't match. They were close, but not really. And so that hurt. I was down another peg. I now had a hood, a jacket, and pants, all 3 different shades of green. And so at that point, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to find a jacket and a pair of pants that matched. And so I kind of forgot about the costume, kind of gave up on it. Which hurt because I wanted to finish up that costume. Now, fast forward maybe about 7 or 8 months. And I'm like, you know what, I gotta redo this. And so I start looking more into the costume, seeing what I can do. And first things first, I look at the jacket and the hood, and I think, this is crazy. The hood is a light green, not like a light green, but it's not as dark as I want it to be. And so I took it out to the workshop and decided I'm gonna fix this thing. And so I had been watching videos by Cosplay Chris, Odin Makes, DIY Prop Shop, and I had gotten a lot of DIY tips and tricks in the past few months, and so I was ready. So with a mixture of 3/4 water and 1/4 black shoe polish, I brushed that onto the hood and let it dry, and it darkened it up considerably. And that was really cool. Let that dry, and then I had plans to do the same thing with the jacket and maybe the pants, but then school caught up to me and it just kind of plummeted. I forgot about it again. Now fast forward to what has turned out to be a couple months ago. And I'm like, I want to hit this hard again. I want to fix this costume up. I want to finish making this thing. At least as well as I can. And then maybe start saving up for an official one. Regardless, I went out looking. I ordered a bow off of Amazon. It wasn't a actual bow. It was more of a toy bow. You can see it on the screen here. But you can see why I bought it. It looks very similar to the one that was used in the show with the curve back and the wooden handle, it is obviously not the same. It is considerably different, but it was close enough for me to say, yeah, for a homemade costume, this will work. So I bought it. And so I got that in, and then I went around to Walmart and I was searching for a couple paints that I would need, and then just doing a basic overview of what everything I would need for the costume to finish it up. I had to buy more duct tape. I bought some sewing materials. I bought a zipper because I wanted to cut out the zipper that was in my jacket and sew a full length zipper in. Regardless, in the middle of all this, I found what was very nearly almost the perfect pair of pants for this homemade costume. It was a pair of olive green pants. You can see right around the knee level that horizontal stitching across the legs, and that reminded me so much of the Arrow costume and what they had on his pant legs, and it was just too perfect to pass up. So I bought it. Obviously, this did not match my jacket or my hood by a long shot, but I remembered what I did with the hood to darken it, and I was going to do the same thing. So I went out to the workshop with the pants and the bow, and I mixed up another mixture of shoe polish and water, and I brushed the entire pants, darkened them up, and hung them up to dry. Then I took the bow and I cut the strings off, and I took off the limbs, and I painted the limbs black and sanded down the tips to make it a little more closer to what an actual bow would be like. I sanded down the handle, and I reversed the grips. So what you see in the photo is actually backwards from how I have it now. I flipped the handle around, sanded down new grooves for the limbs to go in, and then put the limbs back on there and screwed them in. I did darken up the handle with some brown shoe polish because it was a bit too light for my liking. Regardless, once I got that done, I hooked a new string on there, and then my homemade arrow bow was complete. I checked the pants, and they were still a bit light for my liking, so I did another coat of shoe polish on them. I also decided to do a coat of shoe polish on the jacket, which I had sewn in the zipper for, and then another coat of shoe polish on the hood to make it a little more darker. Yeah, so after I did all that, I looked at the jacket and the pants together, and the pants were pretty much the same. I don't know how to say this. They were about as dark as the jacket was, but they were more faded, so to speak. They were less green. So I went back to the workshop and mixed up another mixture. This one had maybe I don't know, 3/5 water, 1/4 shoe polish, and 1/4 green acrylic paint. And so this I brushed on the front of the pants and let them dry, and it worked great, so I brushed them on the back. And so now the pants are a lot darker than what they used to be, and they match up a little better with the suit. It is not perfect. I mean, if you look at them really closely, you can tell they look different. But they do look good enough to pass. They look a lot better than they did when I started. And so I got the pants, and I got the jacket, and I got the hood, and I got the bow. Now I had to fix the quiver. The quiver had just been a black cylinder for ages. And so I decided it was a bit too long, and so I cut the top down. I cut open the back side to make it more rounded and a slit down the middle, kind of like you can see in these pictures here. Then I took some green paint and mixed it with a little bit of black paint and created a dark green rim around the top and the sides down here to mimic that leather you see. While that was drying, I took 4 36-inch long dowels. I cut them in half to where they're 18 inches each and painted the top 3/4 of them black. So while those were drying, I took the quiver and I held it together and I measured the inside, and I cut out a cardboard cutout that fit around the inside of that. I poked 8 holes in that and drilled them out. Then when the rods were dry, I laid them down and I cut out a arrow fletching photo. I traced that 7 more times, and then the 7 paper fletchings I had, I painted with that same greenish black or dark green, whatever you want to call it, color that I did around the edges of the quiver. Once both sides were painted, I taped them onto the end of the dowels, and I put the dowels into that cardboard cutout and put it inside the quiver with Walmart bags to pack it all in. I then used some clear packing tape to secure the quiver together and basically tighten everything, and that's where I am so far. I've had to put a few things of gray duct tape onto the quiver just to hold some more straps on there that I put, and I'm going to cover that up with black duct tape a little later. But that's what I got with my quiver so far. So at this point I had the bow, I had the suit, I had the quiver, and then my eyes turned to boots. And so I did a lot of searching, and I finally found out through an RPF forum that the boots were not off-the-shelf copies. They were actually Nike Free Run 2s that had a custom leather boot topping sewn onto it. And so that was a bit disappointing because once again I couldn't go buy the boots. But there's always has to be a workaround. Now I found a good pair of boots done by a company called Aria's Done Designs. I found out about them through another YouTube channel called This Just In. And I'll put his link along with Cosplay Chris, Odin Makes, DIY Prop Shop in the description, and also put Aria's Facebook page in the description as well. Now she made a really good replica of the boots, and so I sent her a Facebook message asking how much it would cost to do a replica of the boots for a shoe of my size. Turns out that if I wanted it done in vinyl, it'd be $175, and then $205 if I chose to do the leather route. And that was without them providing the shoe. I would have to find the shoe and ship it to them. They could buy a copy of the shoe for me, but that would cost extra. And that would, quite honestly, I didn't even have that much money. So I said, well, thank you for your time. I can't afford that right now. I hopefully want to look into that in the future. But for the time being, I was stuck. I didn't want to just get normal tactical boots because I wanted to get something that looked similar to the show. So what I did is, as you're seeing right here on the screen, this is me trying to make my own version of the boots. I went to Walmart and bought a $10 pair of shoes. Then I went to Joann's and I bought some black vinyl and I bought some eyelets, and I planned to get some Velcro, but I didn't find exactly what I would want at the time. Regardless, you can see me sewing it here. It took me forever to cut it out and then sew them together. And then let me tell you, hand sewing those tops onto the boots was a pain in the butt. I loathe to do it again. Regardless, after pricking myself a couple hundred times and snapping at least 3 needles, I finally finished hand sewing them on and put the shoelaces in, and they looked terrible. Well, let me rephrase that. They don't look bad, but, they don't look bad for a first try, but for the intent I was going for, they don't look like I was hoping. So I was a bit defeated, and I went to bed that night feeling a bit upset because I'm like, I don't want to do that again just to get a similar result, and so I pretty much quit, which bugged me. All night, that bugged me, and then the next morning, throughout the day, I was really bugged. I'm like, what am I going to do? And then this afternoon, I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to fix that. So I took the other shoe, the one that I hadn't sewn anything on yet, and I put duct tape on the front part of the toe and along the sides. I took that off and put it on a piece of paper, traced it, and cut it out, and I got something that looks like this. Now, when curved around, you can see it kind of looks like the front end of a shoe, and that was my intention. I'm going to take something like this, and I'm going to cut this out of the vinyl, and then I'm going to hand sew this onto the front. Then I have this template here, which is basically me tracing out what I'm going to cut this out of the vinyl, and then I'm going to sew this on to the sides around where the laces are. Hopefully that'll give me the boot shape accompanied with something like so. You can see where the boot is kind of coming from. Now that is my plan for the boots. Plan 2. You can see how the boots failed, and hopefully this should be a lot better. So regardless, I'm going to show you the progress I've made on the suit so far, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so these are the pants. As you can see, they're a lot darker green now than what they used to be. If you can look here, you can see kind of here, this is the cross stitching I was telling you about, or the horizontal stitching. I don't know how clear that is, but that's what I was talking about. It isn't as low down as the one in the TV show, which is around here-ish, but it'll work. It just basically reminded me of it, and it was the best thing I could find, store-bought. So there are the pants. Just give you a full turn what they look like, and yeah, that's about it for those. Alright, here is the bow. As you can see, it is a brown and black, which is as true as I can get to the show at that point. The string, it pulls back fairly well. Not as far back as a normal bow would need to, but for a cosplay piece, that's about all I need. As you can see up here, this is a combination of a rounded screw head plus a silver nut to kind of get a domed, a domed bolt shape. And so you can see I did that on both sides. And here is where they were originally, the limbs were originally screwed into. Like I told you, I flipped it around. So that's what it looks like now. Alright, here is the quiver. As you can see, there's a decent amount of gray duct tape on there that I still got to fix up. But see, this is the arrows I put in there. As you can see, it just sits in there really. So here's what it looks like when I have it on. See, it sits pretty well. It's actually really comfortable. It gives you good freedom of movement, wide range. It doesn't really do anything. I've run across my yard with this thing, and I really feel cool doing it. So there's the quiver. Alrighty, here we got the jacket and the hood with the pants on. As you can see, if you look here, you can tell they're two different shades of green, but it does, from a distance, it looks okay. It doesn't look half bad. So put it on together, and I actually like the way it sits. The jacket is really comfortable. Once again, good range of movement. The hood, when put on, it's basically what I said it was, a hood. Basically job description, but it is really comfortable to wear, and from distance it looks really nice. So one thing I found out about watching a channel called Friggin' Boom Toys, which I'll put in the description as well. He did a parkour video on the Green Arrow costume. Is it possible to do parkour in a Green Arrow outfit? And he found it was, but he had problems with the hood staying on and the arrows falling out. And so for the purpose of the video, he put some Velcro on the inside of the hood along with a headband that would just hold it in place. Turns out for the show, he realized later that they used what was essentially a beanie with Velcro strips sewn on, just to hold the hood on with Velcro on the inside. If that makes sense, great. If not, you can always check out his channel, which I recommend anyway. And here we have the whole suit put together. As you can see, it looks really nice for a homemade piece. For something that the only official, so to speak, piece that was bought was the hood, it turned out a lot better than I was expecting. The hood works really well put down with the quiver and the bow, but most of the time it's going to be up anyway. So, alright, and there we have it. Hope you guys enjoyed getting to see the costume and then hearing the story behind it. At the moment, I am trying to save up to buy an official version of the costume from procosplay.com. Once again, that link will be in the description. But until then, I'm going to continue working on this, which currently includes the boots and searching for some gloves to use. Now, a little bit more info. The gloves that were used in the show were a 511 tack-like glove, I believe. And I'll post the RPF forum and link in the description that I got this information from. But at the moment, I can't find those anywhere locally. I would have to order them online. And so once again, budget, still working into all that. But when I do get the gloves and when I do finish the boots, I will make another video letting you guys know and showing you the process. Alright, that's about it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.